Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of We Are the Medicine. I have a very special solo episode for you today. We're going to be talking about the concept of power, how to reclaim our power, how to stop giving away our power, and the ways that I believe humanity, in a lot of ways, has given away our power to external forces such as governments and corporations. And I'm really excited for you to hear this episode today. I actually recorded this podcast in early December, and I had a lot going on through the holidays, and I was traveling a lot throughout January, so I am just now able to get it out to you. And it's actually crazy to think of how much growth and expansion has happened for me since I recorded this episode, which I'm excited to share with you when the time is right. But I still think that this is a great episode and very valuable. And if you are someone who is in a season of reclaiming your power, I think that you will really enjoy this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, friends, and welcome to another episode of the We Are the Medicine podcast. I have another solo episode here for you today. I am just here hanging out in my office and felt like tapping in with you all. I feel like I really want to discuss the concept of power and how we see power used externally out in the world, how to connect with our own inner power. What does it mean to be in your power? So in my recent ayahuasca journey, the big theme for me was power and coming into my own power and the fears that I have around that and the ways that I see power playing out in the world and how that has affected my perception of what power is and how power can be used. So it was very interesting. A lot of my process during the ayahuasca journey was me realizing all the ways that power has been misused in the way that I've seen it misused in the world, and how that in a way made me afraid of tapping into my own power. It's so interesting, that concept, the fear of your own power. And I think that especially when we see so much misuse and abuse of power by governments and people throughout the world, it can make us dampen our own power. And I feel like a lot of that also has to do with the ways that we give our power away. You know, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship or friendship, you have probably seen the ways that someone can manipulate you, or I mean, this applies to anything, right? It could apply to relationships, it could apply to, like I said, the government, and the ways that we are manipulated into giving away our own power. And it's always a choice, right? I don't think that any of us are completely victim to this world that we live in. I think it really is a choice to give our power away to these external forces. But it's interesting because is it a choice if we don't realize that we're doing it? If it's unconscious? I think that's such an interesting concept to ponder on. You know, how much choice do we really have if we're unaware of having a choice? I definitely feel that there's been many situations in my life where I have given away my power and I have allowed other people around me to have control of what I do, what I say, who I am, and not even like necessarily that they were trying to control me, but it's also like in some ways maybe it felt safer to just be who I thought someone else wanted me to be. I think that's a big thing. I think about a relationship that I had a few years ago where I completely changed myself in a lot of ways to mold myself to who I thought this person wanted me to be. And at the end of that relationship, I really came out of it feeling like I don't even know who I am. I was just trying to do what I thought they wanted me to do. And I really lost myself in that. And I think that that was a big way of giving my power away. And it's not even necessarily the other person's fault. That's why, I really want to just bring us all back to that radical responsibility and recognizing that we have a choice in the matter. And if we continuously just blame everyone else for why we ended up in whatever situation, then we are continuously giving our power away. It's an interesting concept, the concept of power. And I think that we all have an innate power within us. We all have God within us. We all are God experiencing itself in human form, the universe experiencing itself in this human form. Whatever terminology resonates with you, to me, it's all the same thing. I feel that when you do get in touch with your own power, how do you choose to use it? That's really important. And we all have this innate power within us. And I want to use my power for good, to help the world, and not to create more destruction or more division or more separation or more war or more conflict. I think in a lot of ways, maybe conflict is inevitable and there's no way that we'll ever get rid of that on our planet. But I think that how we navigate conflict is the game changer. Like, I have seen in my relationship how the ways that we've grown together and the difference in how we navigate conflict now versus the beginning of our relationship, it's like night and day. I feel like if people can learn how to have disagreements and have different opinions and think differently about things and be able to share that with someone who may have a differing opinion in a respectful way and just remain open-minded and see, is there something that I can learn from this person? Maybe they'll open my mind to a different perspective or a new way of thinking. Or maybe I'll realize that, no, I actually really do just believe what I believe. I think a lot of what it means to be in your power is to know your innate truth and know yourself, like who you really are, behind all the masks that we put on, behind all of this human form and all of that. Like, who are you really? That I really feel like that's what it means to get in touch with your own power. It's a piece of it. And not allowing yourself to change who you are or change your opinion or change the way that you would normally act on something just for somebody else. What it means to be empowered. I mean, it's just an interesting concept, and I'm definitely not professing to know anything or to have it all figured out, because I am just as much of a student on this path as anyone else. But I'm learning a lot about what it means to be empowered and the ways that we disempower ourselves by looking to someone else to give us the answers. The ways that we disempower ourselves by doing what we think society wants of us. Posting a pretty picture because we think it'll get more likes, or, just showing up in a certain way in the world with friends or family or relationships or on social media. I feel like we disempower ourselves when we show up in a way that is not authentic to ourselves, but we're doing it because we think it's what people want from us. If we are acting in ways that are not in alignment with who we truly are and our soul's true purpose and desire, just to please other people, that is the definition of what it means to be disempowered. That's a big part of what it means to be disempowered. And I've, like I said, experienced that a lot in my life from childhood. I have really spent a lot of energy trying to hide and trying to not be seen for who I really am, and trying to morph myself or mold myself into this person that I'm not due to my fear of judgment and traumas. I feel like most of us probably have a moment in our life, in childhood or as a teenager or young adult, where we felt an outside force saying, you can't just be yourself. You can't talk like that. You can't say that. You can't do that. You're not good enough, And those moments created these beliefs in us that, well, maybe I'm not good enough. And we learn that it's not safe to be in our power. It's not safe to speak our mind. It's not safe to be expressive and wild and free. Hey friend, if you are interested in plant medicines, or if you're on the plant medicine path, or even if you just like to work with plant medicines to enhance your spiritual practice, you are going to love Four Visions Market. Four Visions Market has a wide selection of many different spiritual tools that can help enhance your spiritual practice. They have just about anything you could imagine to fit your personal spiritual needs, such as an amazing collection of hape, which is my personal favorite thing to buy from them. Four Visions is my go-to place to get hape, and my two favorites from them are Divine Mother Rose and the Ojo de Jaguar hape. And even if you're not into hape like me, I promise you they will have something you're gonna love. They have a wide selection of spiritual tools with anything from ceremonial cacao to botanical tinctures such as king nettle tincture, which, by the way, nettle is one of the most amazing and nutritious plants that you can put in your body. So everyone needs them, a little bottle of king nettle tincture. They also have some amazing healing lotions, Florida water, yoni steaming blends, tea blends, sananga, and they have an entire line of CBD products, including tinctures, body butters, pain salves, and even a little something for your pets. And the beautiful thing about Four Visions is that every single product in their marketplace is created handmade by indigenous people of the Amazon. And what I really love about them is that they give 50% of their profits back to those indigenous artisans to support them and their families and the tribes and make sure that they are healthy and beautiful and thriving as well. I am so grateful to be partnered with Four Visions. I really believe in their message and their purpose in this world. I love the way that they support and give back to the indigenous communities in the Amazon. And I think it's probably one of the best companies that you could support because they are really doing a lot to help those indigenous people. And I have a special 10% off code for you. So if you click the link in the show notes and use the code Serena Rose, you can get 10% off your first order. Now let's get back to the episode. A big thing that I really wanted to touch on in this podcast is I really feel that we as humans have become like domesticated animals. When you take away an animal's wildness and you tame them, in a lot of ways, you dim their true essence. I really feel that the society that we live in has disconnected us from our true nature. For thousands of years, humans lived in community. Humans lived in connection with nature and the earth. They knew all of the different plants and the berries in their area and what mushrooms were safe to eat and what ones were not. And yeah, that took probably a lot of experimentation on our ancestors' part. But I think that there's just really something missing there. We're all kind of trapped in these boxes of our houses, which, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for my house. When it rains or when it snows, I'm like, yes, I'm so cozy in here with my central heating and air conditioning. That's amazing. There's so many great things about our modern day society and with technology and all of these things. And there's also, I feel like we need to find a balance. There's also a dark side to it where we just get stuck in our house watching TV and we don't even go outside, or we're not connecting with people in the same way. And I think we as humans have forgotten our wildness. We've forgotten that we are meant to be frolicking in a field and exploring the forest and getting in touch with nature, because when we get in touch with nature, we get in touch with ourselves, because we are nature. Our bodies are made of earth. And we are meant to have a relationship with these other beings that are the plants and the animals and the trees and the birds. And there is God in all of that. There is God in nature. There is truth in nature. And when we go to nature and we observe nature, we see the truth of who we are. And I feel like it's really important for us to get back in touch with our own nature. I really feel that we as a society have been disarmed in a way. We have been disempowered. We have given our power away to these systems and these forces that are not here to serve us, that are actually enslaving us. These forces that want to use us and our energy for their own good, and with no regard for human life or human needs. Like the way that the majority of society, at least in America, that's where I live, so that's all I can speak for. People just live in this world where they're just doing shit they don't want to do all the time. Like you wake up, you go to work at this job that you hate, you're overworked, you're underpaid, like you come home, your wife's nagging at you, or your kids are being annoying or whatever, and we're just burning ourselves out, living in a way that we don't even want to live, to pay for this house that we don't even want to live in, And I think that a lot of people are waking up to that. I think that the whole pandemic made people really wake up to that and say, what am I doing? What am I doing working this 9-to-5 job, or this whatever job, or what am I doing in this relationship that I don't want to be in, or all of these things. I think a lot of people are waking up to that reality that it's like, I don't have to live like this. I don't have to live like this. It is such a choice, and I'm not saying that it's easy to choose to be in your power in this world, to choose to forge a new path for yourself instead of just going the same route that your parents wanted you to, or everyone else that you went to high school with. They all went to college and did this thing and got this job, and now they're all in debt, and you're just doing what everyone else is doing. But I think that there's, realizing that you don't have to do that. That's when you can take your power back. That's when you realize oh, I actually have a choice. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to end this relationship because it's not serving me. I'm going to move to a new city because the people I'm around are not good for me. None of those choices are easy to make, but it's definitely harder, in my opinion, to stay in a situation that you don't want to be in, that feels out of alignment. There are forces in this world. There are dark forces in this world that want to keep us asleep, as a lot of people say, or that just want us to be in their control and don't want us to empower ourselves and use their power to manipulate and to do things like poison all the food. What's up with that? Why, especially in America, why are there so many ingredients in our food that are everywhere, ingredients that are illegal in other countries? It's just crazy. There's all of these chemicals in our food supply that are literally poisoning us, that are causing cancer and heart disease and diabetes and all of these crazy diseases and many, many more. And it's just that cycle of oh, I'm going to create the problem. I'm going to poison the food. I'm going to poison the water. I'm going to get people addicted to foods that are horrible for them. And then when they're all sick, they're going to have to come to the hospital. They're going to come to the doctor, and we're just going to pump you with some drugs. We're going to give you some pharmaceuticals. Oh, and we're going to make more money. Guess who's profiting? Guess who's profiting off of all of this? all of the same systems that, like, it's crazy. It's like the whole system is set up for us to be fucked up. And it's just funny because so many people are still so entrenched in it. And I feel like part of it is like this savior complex because we're so disempowered. And not a savior, maybe savior complex isn't the right word, but it's like, I feel like part of it is this disempowerment within ourselves to know what is right for us. And we are looking to daddy government or daddy pharmaceutical industry or whatever, the fucking college, the teachers at school. We're looking to someone else to give us the answers because maybe nobody ever taught us how to find the answers for ourselves. So I'm really trying to paint this picture, right? So much of the world is living in this way that is not in alignment with who they truly are. You know, working a job you hate, being in a relationship with somebody you don't like or that's toxic, or having people around that aren't good for you. Your only joy in life is to have a margarita every Friday with the girls after work because, like, your fucking life sucks. Like, you hate your life and you just drink it all away, smoke it all away, take the drugs, whatever it is. And then we become so disillusioned from reality when we are in those like addictive patterns and cycles that there's no way we can find our power. You know, and I don't mean to say it like that. Like, of course, there's a way, but it becomes a lot harder for us because we get addicted to living in a reality we hate and then having to escape from that reality. So I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to do in my life, and that my prayer is that you, whoever's listening, and the rest of the world will try to do, is to create a life that we don't have to escape from. And how do we do that? Man, fuck if I know. I'm still figuring it out. It's such a journey, but I think it really starts with getting to know yourself and asking yourself, what do I want out of life? What do I want my life to look like? And maybe for some people that is working the corporate job and like having a beer with the boys after work, happy hour, whatever. Like, maybe for some people that is in alignment and that is what they desire. And for me, I desire to live on a homestead out in the country, connected to nature, surrounded by friends and family and people that I love, and having a deep sense of community and having people around me that I can really trust and that I can lean on when I'm struggling and that really care for me. You know, that's a big part of my dream and the vision that I'm working to bring to reality. And it looks different for each of us, right? So let's get in tune. Like, what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to navigate this world? And then figuring out, okay, what are the steps that I can take now to make that happen? What are the steps that I can take now? I can record this podcast. I can share my voice. I can be brave and state my opinion without fear of who's gonna think what. And it doesn't mean that there's no fear ever. Trust me, I still have plenty of insecurities and things that I'm working through and things I have to navigate. But knowing that I have a deeper purpose that my soul came here for, and that I'm here to help people. That helps sometimes. It helps a lot of times. And then, yeah, just figuring out, like, I have this dream reality that I'm envisioning. How can I create this in my life? What are the steps I can take? And yeah, you know, there's a lot of bullshit stuff that we got to go through sometimes, you know, when in the society that we live in. Like, yeah, money is a thing. So if you don't have the money for something, you got to figure out how to get it. You know, there might be challenges or roadblocks in the way or lessons that have to be learned. But like I said, it's way better than just living in this hell that is familiar. I feel like a lot of us choose to stay in the situations that we're in just because they're familiar and they're comfortable in a way. It's so funny because I say comfortable, but it's like if you hate your life, I don't think you're really that comfortable. You're probably pretty uncomfortable, but you're just used to it. You are used to like living a life that you don't enjoy. And I think a lot of that has to do with we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe that it's possible to create the life that we want. And I think that, like I said, there are dark forces out there that have programmed into us all of the logical ways, all of the logical reasons that we can't do what we want. How many people have had a family member or a friend or a partner tell them, like, you can't ever do that. You want to be an actor? Like, you want to be a singer? You want to start a business? What is wrong with you? Like, that's never going to happen. You got to just work the job. You got to just go get the degree and get in debt and do all of these things. Like, you're never going to be able to do that. And I'm not trying to say that these people are evil or anything. A lot of times these are people that care for us and they're just living in a different perspective of reality. And they're probably disempowered. And what I mean by the dark forces is that these dark energies will use people just like light energies and harmonizing Christ consciousness, God, beautiful high dimensional energies can use people to give you messages. The dark energies can use people to try to bring you down. They will use your grandma or your auntie to be like, you think that you can just like move to Costa Rica and like live on a mountainside? Like, are you crazy? But if that's your dream, you should go for it. Because there is nothing more disempowering than to live a life that you don't want because someone else told you that you can't have the life you want. Because most of the time, those people are not living the life that they want. And so they try to convince you that you also can't live the life that you want. And then the cycle continues, right? But yeah, like, we don't have to live like this, humanity. We can choose better. We can choose to heal our trauma. We can choose to set boundaries. We can choose to empower ourselves to make decisions that will change our life. Whether that's ending the job, whether that's whatever it is, the relationship. If there's something in your life right now that you are holding on to that is doing nothing but hurting you, you are giving your power away to that thing, to that person, to whatever. If you are living a life that you hate just because it's what society told you that you're supposed to do, you are living in disempowerment. You are giving your power away to these external forces and saying what they say is true. Their reality is my reality. And I'm here to tell you that it does not have to be like that. We have the choice. And I think that our power is in our choice. We have thankfully been given free will on this planet. And that's why I say, you can't blame somebody else. Even though these people maybe brought you down or made you feel bad about yourself, you can't blame them. I mean, you can do whatever you want, right? But at the end of the day, you participated in whatever the dynamic was. You allowed those messages to become your belief system. And that's okay. I'm not here to shame anybody. I got plenty of beliefs that ain't mine that I'm still working through, okay? Like, there's a lot to unlearn from our parents and our upbringing and our friends and family, teachers, all of these things. It's such a journey. So if you find yourself in a situation where you realize that you have given your power away, first of all, be compassionate with yourself, because judging ourselves only makes things worse. Trust me, I've really tried that route a lot, and it doesn't ever work out the way I want when I try to shame myself into changing. it's never fun. It just creates more shame and more judgment and paralyzes us. So if that's you and you realize, oh, I am in a situation that I don't want to be, I am disempowered in this dynamic. Okay, I'm going to have compassion for myself. I'm going to nurture myself. I'm going to soothe myself, and I'm going to be like, you know what? I understand how I got here. And maybe this is a dynamic that is replaying the trauma from my father or whatever, having that self-awareness and really diving into those layers can be helpful. And then ask yourself, okay, well, now that I know I have a choice, what do I choose? I can choose different. I can choose to move to the forest of Oregon if I want. Or, I'm trying to think of an even more crazy place to live. Like, I'm going to choose to live on a mountaintop in Iceland. I don't know. If that's what you want, you should go do that. Because none of us should live a life that is unfulfilling. Every single one of us deserves to live a beautiful life that we love, a life where we feel connected to ourselves and to the people around us and to the world around us. We all deserve to live whatever that life is that you dream in your head. And you can create that for yourself. Just take the first step. That's all you got to do. And then take the next step. Well, that's not all you got to do. Then you got to take the next step and the next one. And, there's going to be probably many steps between the person you are now and that dream life that you're creating. But don't forget to enjoy the process, and don't forget that there's always going to be challenges. Even when you get to that place that you think, that's my heaven, that's where I want to be. There's going to be challenges, and there's going to be things to move through, and there's always going to be new goals. So still remembering to live in the present and not putting too much emphasis on the future. It's, can we just have a moment to say, trying to find balance in this world? There's so much nuance to all of this, right? We want to dream for the future, but we also don't want to neglect the present and miss out on what's already here. We have to find the beauty that's already in the present moment because it's here. But also, if there's things about your life that you want to change, you got to be in the future a little bit so you can change them. But yeah, there's just so much nuance and in this life, in this world, and man, it's a ride. It's a wild fucking ride. And I'm grateful to be here on it. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful to you listening. And I really hope that this episode brought something out for you or gave you a realization or helped you in some way. I had no idea what I was going to talk about coming on here. I was just like, okay, I'm going to sit down and see what happens. So I hope you liked it. I love you. Have a good day. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment letting me know how you liked this episode. And if you have topic suggestions for future episodes, feel free to leave them in the comments there. If you're listening on a podcasting platform, it would really help me out if you could leave me a nice review, letting me know how you like the podcast so far. Thank you so much and stay blessed.